Hello, 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 good people, and welcome to Happy Healthy Whole with Sharia. And this is Wednesday Wisdom, where I do tips for small businesses, and we talk about how we can improve our business in different ways. Today, we are going to do a small business tip around, excuse me, building your brand that resonates with your actual client. And so if you haven't already, like and subscribe to our channel where we are focused on the wellness of Black women in different areas. And this specific area is about entrepreneurship and growth. Also, if you are interested, you can like and subscribe, but also follow us or follow me at Sharia Farmer LCSW on almost all of the platforms. And also our center, which is RS Wellness Center. All right. That being said, let's think about what it means to brand so that it resonates with your client. So today you see my background is my actual logo for my business, which is RS Counseling and Wellness Center. When it comes to specifically branding for your business type and wellness type, my business is what is considered a consulting and therapy practice. And what that means is that I offer services for both the individual and the organizations that I work with around trauma-informed care, wellness, employee wellness, and equity work, specifically racial equity, depending on the contracts and areas of service. And so when we think about branding to our audience, we have to know and think about the color schemes, the items that we'll share and what types of things we'll share. But I really wanted to talk about building a brand that resonates with clients, whether that's starting out looking to refresh your brand or your current brand, or you're having a new kind of or you're just starting, and or you're looking for sort of like a reboot of your current brand. So I'm going to try to do this in 3 tips. I know that I have a lot to say about branding, but I'm going to try to keep it down. One of the things is that your brand is more than just a logo or color schemes. It's an entire experience for your clients. And so when we think about an entire experience, I want to break that down in 3 areas. And so the first thing is defining your brand. Your brand is essentially your business personality. It's how you want people to hear or think of you or think of your brand when they are interacting with your services. So think about things like your core values, your mission, and your unique services that are specific to the type of thing that you're doing or the type of services that you're providing. Think about it from this sense. What makes you stand out? Like, what makes you different than all of the rest? And so when you think about it, and I'll use my own business, for example, when I think about what makes me stand out is that my experience incorporates wellness and trauma informed because of my therapeutic experience and consult, and it impacts my consultations and training, but it also specifically impacts my views on social justice and equity. And so my work looks at incorporating trauma-informed care and equity into all that I do. And so depending on what kind of consultation or client that I'm actually reaching out to, or I'm actually appealing to, I'm very clear in those areas of what makes me different. So take some time to reflect on these 3 questions or on these questions. For example, in my brand, I center it on empathy, empowerment, and evidence-based practice, which is the trauma-informed care. These values guide every decision I make. So it's not just in my consulting or my therapy, but all of the decisions. And that's where that equity and social justice becomes important. And I communicate this with my clients through the things that I put out on my offers. When I'm talking on social media or going live on social media, I'm very much about empathizing, empowering, and showing what works, right? And this is a part of the brand that you'll get from me, no matter if it's talking about my macro level work, which is owning the practice, being an entrepreneur, or it's talking about my direct work with individuals, which is therapeutic, trauma focused, and very much about empowering the client to be their best self. So think about how you want your brand to be consistently aligned with those those areas that you say you stand for. Like, do people see you or see myself, an example, as a person who believes in social justice? Do they see me as a person who supports racial equity or equity in the workplace, and also believes that trauma informed means that we've all been exposed to and or deal with some form of exposure to trauma that may impact how we are triggered in workplaces, in homes, and families, and so on and so on. And so thinking about that allows me to make sure that everything that I'm doing incorporates looking at angles around that brand and how I speak to my client as a result. So really try to be as consistent as possible, only based off of it, and not only, but fully based off of your foundational areas, such as your core values, your mission, and your purpose of impact, especially because we're mostly talking to wellness businesses. That becomes extremely important for you to remember. The other thing that you want to start doing is to be consistent on social media feeds. I am a person who believes in targeting platforms according to who your audience is. So for example, when I'm thinking about individual work or individual clients, I'm looking at Instagram. When I'm thinking about clients or corporations or organizations, I'm thinking about LinkedIn. So consistency is key when it comes to branding. Once you define what your brand is, it's important to maintain your identity across all of your platforms with that same voice, whether it's your website, your social media, or any form of email communication. People should get a gist of who you are in all of those areas. And so when I'm consistently building trust, what I'm doing is creating a brand that is showing who I am related to equity, trauma-informed wellness, and social justice. And so what I'm doing is consistently building trust, um, so that when people see me on one platform or another platform, they're not confused as to who I say I am versus what I'm saying or doing on these different platforms. If a client sees one thing on your website and then another thing on your Instagram, it creates a level of confusion. And so you want it to be as consistent as possible. So if you go to my website, you'll see that we've branded towards a consultation and therapy services, no longer specifically outpatient or outpatient services only. And then you'll also notice things like our three areas: education, empowerment, and enrichment. And then you'll also see our new mission with incorporates our approach with equity, social justice, and wellness. And so those things are consistent. So then if you go to my social media, I'm talking about equity. I'm talking about empowerment of yourself. I'm talking about forgiving yourself. I'm talking about things that align with wellness related to being trauma focused. And so it becomes extremely important not to confuse your audience so that they can hear your color schemes are similar, your tones are similar, your voice in those different platforms are similar. And so they are seeing and knowing that this is you and you are showing up as your honest, authentic self across those things. So stay consistent with your branding. That foundational tip, which is to create your brand based off of your core values, your mission, and who you say you want to impact, will allow you to learn how to build that trust on your different platforms by consistently aligning those things, your content and your communication to your client, to that previous core values, missions, and the things that you stand for. And so I think the last thing, because I thought I wanted to keep it down to 15 minutes or less, and I think I'm pushing on that last couple minutes. When we think about developing our client's avatar and or the person that we would like to see as our ideal client, it's important for us to have a clear picture of who we are serving so that we can speak to them in the language in which they understand. So for example, if your ideal clients are working professionals struggling with work-life balance, your brand should speak to their need for stress management, self-care, using language and visuals that reflect the experience in which they are having, but also offering solutions to their problem. So then that way your brand is centering your client. So when your brand is centering your client is more likely to want to purchase or connect with you in ways that is about creating a emotional connection, especially when we think about wellness businesses. Just specifically for myself, therapy and consultation. But for other people, it can be coaching and or it could be massage therapy. It could be a number of different things that we do with wellness. But when you're thinking about this, they're making an emotional connection when they see that you're consistent and you've built trust, and then that you're speaking to them in the language that best suits who they are and how they identify their problem. And so you're creating an emotional connection that keeps clients coming back, wanting to hear more, wanting to see more about who you are and what you have to or have to offer to their problem or their need. And so when I think about that, those three tips is really knowing your core values and your mission and branding to them, being consistent and letting your social platforms as well as website and things like that reflect those values and missions. And then lastly, creating a avatar and or an ideal client image so that you can know for sure that you're speaking their language and speaking to their problem that you're trying to resolve. Those three things are going to be just three ways that you can actually start building your brand and building your brand in a way that is consistently resonating with your client. That's important as you try to grow your practice, as you try to grow your business, because what will happen when you are consistent, your client will start showing up. Again, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, share it with a friend. Also ring that bell so that way you can get notifications when I'm going live and or when we upload new videos. Specifically, Wednesday will be dedicated to small businesses and wellness businesses and therapy practices that are trying to either develop, grow, or and expand their reach and impact. My goal is to hopefully help others continue to see the benefit of helping others. And so if you have a special area that you'd like me to talk live about related to businesses, feel free to comment as well what areas you are really needing support in. So questions, comments are likes are accepted. I look forward to continuing to talk and to personalize these different guiding areas to the needs of your business. And until then, I'll continue to just pop in on Wednesdays, do about 15 minutes to 30 minutes live where we can talk about owning a wellness/therapy/consulting practice and growing our businesses. I hope that everyone takes good care of themselves, and I will see you next Wednesday. Be well.